Hello Pauline, nice to meet you. Hi, how are you doing? So we just started the tour. We looking right here into the Waimea Inlet. It's a tidal inlet where we have a lot of wildlife, a lot of bird life, and I want to talk a little bit more about that later on. I might just repeat what I've said before. We're basically here at Mapua Wharf. Mapua is the Maori word for place of abundance, and if you look around here, then you can imagine why they named this place. So the location, Mapua Wharf, is in the northern tip of the South Island. It's regarded one of the warmest and one of the most prettiest scenic places in New Zealand. And Mapua Wharf represents a little bit the essence of the whole region. We got food, wine, cycling, and arts and crafts and history. And so if you have any question, Pauline, just sing out and let us know if you want to know a little bit more. And again, Mapua, here's the famous window where we have those kinds of items like, the shellfish, seafood, and the white heron. And we'll talk a little bit more about the white heron later on in the trip. So let's get the trip started and let's have a walk around to explore the places. So we have now here, we basically in the autumn season. Autumn in this part of New Zealand means stunning blue sky, no wind, and it's a really lovely time. And many visitors to New Zealand, they always regard between November and February the best time to visit, but here in April and May, it's often a really settled weather. So we have here Mapua Wharf. Just a quick overview on where we are here. The whole complex used to be basically a storage area for the local fruit industry, especially apples. There used to be a lot of apples exported from the region, a lot of growing going on. So the first settlers came here in the 1850s, and they planted apples. And interesting enough, the apple industry was the forefront of the wine industry, because a winemaker told me that it's actually good soil for apple is actually good soil for wines as well. So we got here one of the local restaurants. It's called the Apple Sheet. So it's a telling name. It's a lovely place. I mean, you can imagine sitting here any time of the year with a beautiful view out to the estuary. It's just stunning. So let's just swing around slowly, and I just want to go a little bit further down the road here and show you a map, which kind of tells you a little bit more on where we are. So we just sneak past here. Here's a place called Rimu Bar, and Rimu Bar is where you can taste all sorts of wines. But we'll go back in a minute and then have a look. Here's my local architect. We used her to build our house. So this place called Kiwi Journey, and another really fascinating part here in the Nelson Tasman region is cycle trail. So people come here for a day trip, for an overnight trip, or just for local cycle around the place. So I'll show you a map here, which is quite interesting. I just moved that broom away a little bit so we can see a little bit more. So here's the local map. So we got Nelson. That is the big city here. It's about 50,000 people living here, and we're right here. So at Mapua Wharf. So this is a cycle trail which goes all the way around here. So you could do that in kind of 3 or 4 days. It's 191 kilometers, so it's quite quite a decent ride. But most people, what they will do, what I'll show you later on here as well, people will start from Nelson, get a bike, cycle around here, and basically finishing over Rabbit Island, and then they take this ferry, and we'll see the ferry soon when we go over to the wharf, and do the cycle, and then get a transport back to Nelson. So I thank you very much, Pauline. Too kind. So the cycle industry has really taken off about 10-14 years ago, when we built more and more cycle trails. I actually used to work for this company as a driver, so I know the area fairly well, and here gives you a kind of a sample of what kind of cycles they have and what kind of prices they have. So here we are, the Flash E suspension bike is 170, that's New Zealand dollars, so New Zealand dollars about 1/3 less in US dollars, or a little bit, you know, like 75 in Canadian dollars, something like that. So it just gives you an idea. Most people in these days, to be honest, they actually go for e-bikes. So we've got all sorts of e-bikes here with even tandems, so it's a very, very popular thing to do. But because we have now autumn season, so there's much less happening, so that's the reason they're basically closed for the quiet time of the year. So let's swing back and go into the Remio bar and have a little look around about the wines we have in the region. So yet again, look at that. I mean, isn't that phenomenal? I mean, it's a beautiful day. We had, to be honest, we had a lot of rain last week. It was just very unusual. Very unusual, but now we're back to square one, back to the normal kind of scene in respect of weather. So look at that. So over here we have the Smokehouse. Smokehouse is a fish and chips shop. It's been established since a long time, but they kind of increased it, the potential, the space about a couple of years ago. So we'll sneak over there in a minute. So what people can do here, they buy themselves the fish and chips over there, and they can actually come over here to the local vineyard, to the local wine shop, and just grab a seat here and go in and get their wine. So let's just sneak in there, have a quick look. I had a chat to these guys before that, if we're allowed to come in. So they said yes, come in. So I'll just guide you into the Remio bar. So here we are. Look at all these beautiful wines. The Nelson Tasman region is renowned for especially the boutique vineyards. You know, we have Muttree Hills, we have Remio Grove. Places. The largest one here is Seifried. I think it's still the largest privately owned vineyard in the South Island. So just if you come over to New Zealand, if you come over this part of the country, you need to stop at Mapua Wharf. Okay, thank you very much. You want to say anything? No. Do you want to say hi? Hello. There's Pauline from Canada as well. So catch you later. Cheers. Bye. So again, you know, people can grab themselves either pizza here. These people, they have beautiful pizzas. Or you can, like this lady over there at the moment, she's actually grabbing the fish and chips. So go over, grab the fish and chips, get a glass of wine, and really enjoy the ambience here. Let's just swing around here and let's continue. It's not that busy at the moment, because simply it's shoulder season, it's autumn season. So let's go into one of the shops here. I'll check with the owner beforehand as well. He's very happy for us to come in and say hello. So this is called Rabbit Island Coffee Co. So that's a beautiful little shop with local produce. So let's have a quick look in there and say hi. Hello, how are you doing? Good. So we just have a look around and want to admire the local food and the goodies produced in the area. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Down there. Let's go down there to the old jams. They're actually made here in the Upper Mutri Valley, handmade, I believe. And I always buy them all over the place. So it's classic local produce. There's a lot of art and crafts going on as well. Like here, pottery is quite big in the Nelson Tasman region. And what's your name again?
My name's Bryn.
Bryn?
Yes.
Bryn, yeah, Bryn has just told me before that he's done some roasting, coffee roasting this morning. So yeah, that's obviously happening once in a while.
We roast 2 to 3
I'll just swing you around to Bryn, say hi to Bryn.
Yeah, kia ora.
Hello.
Yeah, no, we roast 2 to 3 mornings a week, and I tend to come in at 5 in the morning. I mean, it's such a beautiful location.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Have the waterfront to myself, it's great. So, yeah.
So how long will it take to roast it?
Each roast is typically around 15 minutes, and I do anywhere from 6 to 10 roasts a morning, and 10 kilos each time, so anywhere between 150 to 300 kilos a week. So
wow.
It's still small, but yeah, no, we love it.
Yeah.
Great location, particularly on a day like this.
Yeah, well, that's the secret in this area. It's all small and boutique, you know. It's not mass produced, and here we are. Thank you very much for letting us know, and see you the next time. Cheers, bye-bye. So let's swing around. What time is it there? So we have about 2:20 or something in the afternoon. So that's on Saturday here, a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, it's always a bit tricky with these times. I'm getting confused. I mean, my real job is I'm a travel agent, so I'll talk to a number of guests around the world all the time, and yeah, it's always a bit tricky. Here's Alberta's. It's a coffee place. Yeah, very popular as well. Beautiful coffee, beautiful food, and let's swing around here. Before we go over to the wharf, just show you a quick over there, just to get a first impression. But that's where we're heading at the end of the day. So let's swing here and look at that. The bicyclists are coming. That's exactly what I want to tell you. That with a bicycle trail. So these people would have started in Nelson, and they basically got the ferry over that little stretch of water, and basically finishing their trip here, or getting to their cars, or getting a transport back to Nelson. So yeah, over here, let's just sneak down here. It's where the arts and crafts places are. So we've got here the Golden Beer. Golden Beer is a local boutique brewery. It's yet another sample on the Nelson Tasman region. Very boutique-y. It's the main hop growing area, the Nelson Tasman region. We have about, I think, 17 or 20 different hop varieties which are grown here. Most of hop is actually exported, and about 80-85% is exported, and mainly to the US, actually, mainly to the US. So it's a very important little niche industry, the beer brewing. We have lots of little microbreweries, but I think that would be a separate tour to actually go into all of that. That's what I want to do later this year. I want to do some wine tours, some beer tours, so a little bit different. But let's have a quick look into one of the arts places here. It's called Forest Fusion. Look at that. I mean, it's a kind of a artificial palm tree. It's beautifully done piece of work. So let's just sneak in and have a look what these guys are doing here. So again, it's called Forest Fusion, and again, it's local art. It's produced in the Nelson Tasman region, and wow, look at that. Look at all these different beautiful sculptures and little pieces. Stainless steel mainly. Look at it. They have done out of all sorts of little instruments and tools, done these beautiful art places. So let's just swing around here. They also have jewelry, again all done produced locally. Isn't that amazing? Absolutely love it here. My wife, I mean, she comes here every couple of weeks and goes around, and it's so beautiful. Look at that. Hopefully the mobile phone connection holds up here. I think there's a bit of a weak point, but just how amazing is that? Really, it's like in New York City, isn't it? I mean, it's beautiful local art. Look at that. Okay, let's swing around. So yeah, I mean, there's lots to see. When you come to this region, the Nelson Tasman region, you really need to take a bit of time, and you need to come around to the Mapua region. And the Mapua Wharf especially, look at that, she's now activating the palms or whatever, the sculptures here. So, okay, let's move in here. That's where people actually can do their own jewelry. They have a kind of a box with items they can pick, and people can create and design their own little jewelry. Look at that, how stunning is that? Yeah, they are wonderful, Pauline, they are really wonderful. I mean, it's quite amazing that we have that kind of shop in a tiny little place here in Mapua. The Mapua village has about 3,000 people living here. The whole region is only about 50,000. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. So the whole region has about 50,000 people living here. So it's all very, very small, but it's still amazing to see how creative people are here. This is now very interesting also. You see these doors? These are basically, they used to be cold storage facilities. So they used to store the apples, mainly apples, in these buildings. And these are the old sliding doors. They're actually used here as the entrance. How cool is that? You know, very, very cool. So let's sneak around here. That's another art shop and furniture shop, and I mean, you can go crazy here. You can really. They have, as far as I know, they have a lot of French style, you know, artifacts. Even I think you can even order furniture here. So here's another beautiful. Look at that. I mean, it's a little bit like in France here. It's so stunning, so creative. Again, here we are is another one of these old storage doors. So yeah, and the gallery is obviously called the Cool Change Gallery. Wow, here we are. So look at that. The sun gets not the sun. The dog gets a bit of a wash here. Obviously, he's been in the water, been a bit naughty. So yeah, that's real local life here. Okay, let's move on. Let's go over towards the wharf, and hopefully we can see the ferry coming across. So here we are on the left-hand side, as I mentioned before. I won't go in there now, but there's actually a little microbrewery in the Golden Beer. In the autumn and winter season, it's mainly open on the weekends. In the summer season, there's a lot of bands playing in the evening, on the weekends especially. They have the bands basically here in that kind of area. They set up and yeah, start playing, and it's a jolly good atmosphere. So especially for visitors coming over here. Now let's swing around here and let's go over to the sea, to the main attraction really of this part of Mapua, the Mapua Wharf. It's that channel which comes in from the Tasman Sea. Isn't that beautiful? Honestly, I mean, the day couldn't be better. But as I mentioned before, it's often like that in the autumn season. We get very stable weather conditions normally, except last week when it was pouring all week. But it's pretty that's the time of the year where it's really good time to come here for holiday as well. Here we are on the left hand side. We have the Mapua ferry service. So what is happening, as I showed you on the map, people actually cycling over from Nelson. So Nelson is basically over there where the hills are. It's around about 35 kilometers to cycle. And they're basically finishing up on the other side here. You might can see it. Finishing up at Rabbit Island. And they just need to get across here that little water channel. So we got on the left hand side, we have, as I mentioned before, the Tasman Sea. So this is all tidal, but also part of a freshwater system. So it's called the Waimea Inlet. So if let's swing around to the right hand side. So you see basically in the background is the Richmond Range, and there's also a river coming out of that. It's called the Waimea River. But yeah, it's that's where they have to cross over. And finishing up here at Mapua Wharf, it's a huge attraction for the region. Lots of national, domestic, as well as international tourists come over here and enjoy that part of the country. You might see this little statue here. We're getting there now. That is actually, his name is Hamish. He's a white heron. So I'll tell you a story about Hamish when we come over there. And so let's do it. Let's go over across to see Hamish. So Mapua Wharf was established 1914, was built, and as I mentioned before, it was mainly for the local apple industry. So the apples needed to get out here. They grew a lot of apples. And the roads were pretty bad in those days, so they decided or extended the wharf in 1914, and basically the wharf was actually going until 1964. So this was big. This was a big industry in those days, and a main driver for the local economy, for the local people. You can look at that. How cute is that? The bicycles. They have their own little bicycle stands with a little bicycle sign. How cool is that, eh? Well, it's a bit of arts and crafts in that as well. So this is, some of the bicycles. Here's a rental bike. That's a normal outfit. You get the helmet, you get the packs in the back, and fully charged. And it's so that's a really nice finish to the day, cycling over from Nelson. So let's head onto the Mapua Wharf area. Here on the right hand side we have a very, very cool little museum. We will go in there afterwards at the end of the trip, just having a quick look. But here's the sign. I mean, I'm normally not into museums too much, but this one is a really, really nice one, and it's free of charge. They basically have it open from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a beautiful little feature. Look at that. This is now the famous Mapua Wharf. At the moment, a little bit deserted, so it's not much happening, but you can imagine in the summer season there's a lot of youngsters and older folk as well. They're actually jumping off the wharf here into the water. It's perfectly safe. It's quite deep here actually, and yeah, I mean it's a beautiful sight. I come here often. I live nearby, about 5 kilometers away, and you just can't beat it really. It's one of the most beautiful parts in New Zealand. So if you ever come to New Zealand, you must visit the place. So let's go over to Hamish. So Hamish is that little statue. So I'll just go a little bit closer, and then I'll just zoom it in a little bit, as much as I can. So this is a statue of Hamish. Hamish basically was the name of a white heron, and these birds, they normally come from the west coast, from their breeding grounds over here into that big mud flat of the Waimea Inlet to feed. So this bird came until about 2010. For about 18 years he came across over here from the west coast to the Mapua Wharf area to visit his mates now, to feed in the area. But the locals really got very fond of Hamish, and when he disappeared in 2010, they actually built him the statue. So in 2012 that kind of statue was set up on this site, and yeah, that's the story of Hamish. It's twice the standard body size, that sculpture, but yeah, it's a really nice little storage. We just love our birds, especially the white herons. They are just beautiful creatures, and you can see them often here in the summer, in the winter season, in the autumn season, especially when you go into the inner part of the Waimea Inlet. We have spoonbill birds and we have kingfishers. It's really abundant of local wildlife. So let's just swing around and have a quick look onto the local museum. Naturally, the people in front of us, they go in there as well. So, but I can't go too much in because the mobile phone reception is not that good in there, but just gives you an idea. So the first Maori population in this area is regarded that came around about in the 1400s, the settlement around the corner, what I talked about before, Crossy Point, where they found, kind of old tools, etc. The first European settler, the first European buyer of land in this area was in 1854, Captain Cross. But yeah, I mean, it's beautifully done here. As I said, I don't want to go in too much into the building because otherwise we actually will lack the mobile phone reception. But you see some of the early paintings here, some copies of Charles Heavey. That's when the first settlers from Europe were shipped over in 1841. They basically came over here to settle the area. And the first big settlement, one of the first settlements in New Zealand, was the city of Nelson. So this is another picture, just shows you, how things looked in those days. They were hard days, they had to basically build up from nothing. And over here we see an old picture which shows that kind of, when we say Mapua is the Maori word of place of abundance, it just shows what kind of fishing they were able to get here. So yeah, it's just also a model of an old ship. So if you ever come into the region, it's well worth, even if you're not interested in museums, but it's well worth just popping in to the Mapua Wharf area. And yeah, so I'll swing the camera around again now because we're nearing the end of our trip. So if you have any further questions, let me know, and love to answer them and give you some more details. But that was a bit of a look around the Mapua Wharf area. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. I want to do some more live stream productions in the future. Yeah, thank you very much for your time, and it's been a pleasure showing you around on a beautiful day like that. So in that respect, thank you and all the best, and haere mai. Bye bye.